Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to look at our tops, chops, traps and slaps for NRL Fantasy in round 2. So obviously slightly different format to Supercoach, different positioning. So given that these videos are a little bit easier to put together than the old stock market video that I did last year, I thought I'd put together one for fantasy as well. Definitely got a strong NRL Fantasy audience, which I appreciate you guys for. So just celebrating reaching 310 subscribers. 24 hours off the back of getting to 300. Getting 10 in one day is, pretty hectic. So thanks very much for that. But I guess we'll get straight into it and a bit of an explanation of how it works, particularly if you didn't see the Supercoach version. But essentially, we're looking at the popular trade in, trade out options. And I think, if it's a good option that we're trading in, well, then that's tops. You get the thumbs up. If it's a good option that we're trading out, well, then we're going to give them the chop. If we're trading them in, but it's probably not the best idea, it's going to end up being a bit of a trap. And if you're trading out someone that you shouldn't, well, then you deserve a slap. So that's how we've come up with it. Obviously, if you've got suggestions on better names or icons, I just wanted something different to buy, hold, sell. But yeah, we'll definitely work on the graphics. This is pretty rushed, just trying to, finalize the format and then obviously get the video out for you guys this week. So we'll kick off with the hookers, and the tops pick this week. I've got Danny Levi. So I think just based on his price, and his low break even this week, I think he's a good option if you do need to bring in particularly a second hooker. A lot of people started with Grant and then, sort of there wasn't a standout cheap option. So a good opportunity to sit back and wait. I think, Danny Levi will definitely be serviceable enough during that time that you need him to cover for Grant. And obviously at his low price point, it gives you more budget in other positions to, build from there. On the chopping block this week, I've got Brendan Hands from the Eels. So it looks like Joey Lussick's got the start and, put in a good shift against the Dogs. Hands only got 13 minutes or so. So I'd imagine that, he's going to have a similar sort of role in the team, or may even get phased out if Joey Lussick sort of, has that fitness to play 80 minutes that Brad Arthur spoke about in the preseason. In saying that, I have put Lussick as the trap this week, which might seem a bit counterintuitive, but I guess essentially it's just thinking that, just because he had one good game doesn't mean that that's going to continue. While he'll still get the minutes, I think, the Dogs definitely gave him a lot of possession. He probably didn't have to do a lot of defence either, so that might actually impact his minutes. Having to make more tackles, and then obviously, Hands leading them more time, and they'll both eventually just become not ideal picks. So that's why I've got them categorised as such. But if you've got Lussick, don't necessarily suggest trading him to Levi. It's just if you're thinking about him, maybe just think twice before you do it. And for the slap, I've got Harry Grant. So he's the best hooker in NRL fantasy. Potentially the best hooker in NRL at the moment. He's going to play massive minutes for the Storm. And he has that attacking upside. Obviously against Penrith, that was always going to be limited. So if you're panicking off his one sort of substandard performance and trading him out, well, give yourself a slap. On to the middles, and I guess the tops pick this week is a pretty popular one in Terrell May. So a lot of people sort of went without him, waiting to see his role, but it looks like he's just picked up where he left off last season. Um, you know, just coming on after the first sort of exchanges, and then when there's a bit of fatigue, he just does what he wants, offloading, breaking tackles, all the good things we love with our fantasy players. So I think, he's a great option, particularly with our chop, which is Spencer Lenu, out for the next 8 weeks. So Terrell May's job security is through the roof. Um, so, it makes sense to swap those guys if you've got the money to make it happen. The trap this week, I've gone with Oregon Kafusi from the Storm. So I was on the NRL Fantasy Stats website. If you're not familiar, I'm not sure who does it, but someone's basically stripped all the data off of the NRL Fantasy site and displays it for free. So it's not like Supercoach where you have to buy the gold package or whatever it's called nowadays. Um, you can buy the NRL Fantasy Coach, but it's all for free on the internet. So, but I did see on there um, that Oregon Kafusi was being included in an extra 1.8% of teams or something. So that would equate to a few thousand people trading him in. Um, and I just don't see the value in it. It's like maybe spend up an extra 100K and get May. And obviously, if you can't find that money, you may just have to go without. Because I don't see the point of bringing in a Kafusi. It's, the Sharks just rotate through their middle forward so much, and you've got the likes of McInnes. Finucane can play big minutes, although he may be starting to sort of step back a bit with that. Um, their edges play 80 minutes, so there's really not much sort of room for the other front rowers to get a lot of time and obviously have a lot of value in fantasy. And the slap this week, I've gone with Ruben Cotter. And this may be potentially more of a slap to myself um, because I guess when I look at my team, I'm thinking, do I go Terrell from Cotter to Terrell? And it's like, well, Cotter, we know what he's about. He can play big minutes. He can do a lot of work. I feel like Peyton just sort of took it easy on him because they were having such a cruising win against the Dolphins. But I guess when they need him to stand up, he will stand up. So I think it's not the smartest trade, but sometimes we do dumb things. So uh, come back tomorrow and have a look when we sort of do our round two preview and see if I was silly enough to make that move. Onto our edge position, and I guess this is me sticking my neck out a bit. Um, and I'm suggesting that Tom Eisenhuth is the tops pick of the week. Uh, and I'm not saying this with any deal of conviction. I guess, there's a lot of speculation around. He's named on the edge. They've got Fatala Mariner and Leilua on the bench. Obviously Fatala Mariner killed it starting on the edge last week. But I think for me, when I look at Eisenhuth and the role that he played, he seems like he's got the trust of the coach. So Shane Flanagan obviously sees something in him that he likes, trusted him to play big minutes. So I'm thinking what the plan is that Eisenhuth will start on the edge, and then, maybe after that 20, 25 minutes, he'll bring possibly Leilua onto the edge, who's also on the bench, and Eisenhuth will actually slide into the middle for a bit. So I can see him getting good minutes, getting some time in the middle, so, solid defensive player. Will do a lot of work with the running the ball as well. Um, and, he's sort of in that nice sort of mid-range price point. So um, I guess maybe it's just that I haven't sort of liked him for a while and just, always waited for him to get a chance at the Storm that never seemed to come. But, the move for the Dragons looks like it's unlocked him a bit. So, again, it's a bold call and maybe wrong. I may have to flip those two players around on the screen and definitely, eat some humble pie. But, you got to make a bold call every now and again. And I think that's my bold call for this round anyway. The chop is obviously a bit more straightforward. Jai Arrow potentially out for the season, definitely out for a while in the interim. So if you've got him, you can get out of him quite easily. So the trap I've put is for Taylor Mariner. As I said, I think he'll start on the bench. I think he'll play more through the middle, if I'm being completely honest. Just given that Leilua is also lurking, and as I said with Eisenhuth, I think he will start on the edge. But there may be that late minute switch, and Fatal Mariner may sort of play that role that I described for Eisenhuth. So it's a 50-50 call, and since I got all the calls wrong last week, I'm hoping I get one right this week. But the slap, I think, is an obvious one as well. Brendan Piakura, when you see a zero on your field, it's frustrating. But he's not going to get concussed every week. Let's hope not. That'd be pretty tragic. We bought him in for a reason. At his price, with his job security and his ability, it seems like a no-brainer. So don't give up after 1 week just because it didn't go your way. That's not the way to play NRL fantasy. In the halves, the tops pick of the week is Lockie Galvin. So has forced his way into the starting team for the Tigers. I guess this was always the exciting one to see in terms of who was going to get named and where. And yeah, I think he was the biggest shock. Everyone was perhaps expecting him to play off the bench, but they've got Aiden Caesar coming off the bench. You imagine he would slot into the halves, so whether it's Galvin or Sullivan, might spend some time at hooker. But either way, we've got a bottom dollar player who's going to start, potential to play 80 minutes. It's a no-brainer. If you're looking for a half to bring in, here's the man this week. I forgot to put it on there. I was actually going to put the best buy on him, but I forgot to do that in the rush to get these videos out this afternoon. So yeah, he'd be my best buy because of that cheap price and potential for making money and scoring points. Trade out this week, I've gone with Ezra Mam. So very similar to my Supercoach prediction or call for the chop of the week. Just I think he's going to be rocks and diamonds, and I think there's cheaper options that provide more value. There's more premium options that offer a better floor. So I don't think he's the right sort of pick in fantasy, and he is pretty popular. I think he's about 20% owned, so he's definitely one I'd have on the chopping block this week. The trap again, not the strongest one considering I've got him in my team and I'm not looking to trade him out. But Kyle Flanagan, so did do pretty well on the weekend, and as predicted, he sort of plays in that system that his dad sets up pretty well. So it's not the worst shout to have him in your team, but I think if you're looking to bring him in, I'd prefer Galvin. That's the only reason he's listed as a trap is I think Galvin just offers more value with the equal amount of opportunity and potential upside. And the slaps, so I've gone the dual slap here. If you've got Cleary, you've got Hines, and you're thinking about trading them out because they dropped a bit of value, you deserve the biggest slap of all. So, we paid $1 million each for a reason. They've got that ability. Right, everyone's allowed one off game. Unfortunately for me, who has both of them, they both had one in the same week. So, and even then, I think they both scored 50 in fantasy, so they weren't punished as much as they were in Supercoach for not, creating a lot of attack. But they'll be back this week and in future weeks. So just hang on to them if you've got them. In the centres, I've got the tops pick as Ben Travojevic. I think a no-brainer. He's already the most popular player in the game, but he's also one of the most popular trade-ins this week, and it doesn't get any more tops than that. So I don't need to say too much more. Just get him in. The chop, I've gone with Kale Oro. So again, a bit like the Ezra Mann pick. He's in 20% of teams, and he's not even starting for the Sharks. He's in the extended reserve. He's probably only one injury away, but he's one injury away. And you've got Ben Travojevic, you've got Ethan Strange who features here as well. You've even got the young Tigers centre Fartape, I think is how you say that. He's going to get at least 2 games before Olam should be back. Um, so yeah, I'd have any of those three above Iro. It's just a wasted space where you could be making money. The trap this week, I've gone with Jed Cartwright. I don't think he'll be the most popular trade in the centres, but when you see 250 edge centre row, edge centre dual position, I was trying to fit second row in there like Supercoach. But the fact is, he's coming off the bench. He might play 30 minutes if he's lucky. And even then, he will be playing on the edge. I think if there's another injury in their outside backs, he'll be the one that slides out into the centres. So there's not a lot of upside in that pick. Um, so yeah, I think Cartwright is a bit of a trap. And Ethan Strange I've got as my slap. So obviously didn't have the best game last week, but at his price, his dual position, he will have his time to shine. That was only his second game of NRL, so I don't think we can be too critical on him. You've just got to give him a bit of time to get into it, and the cash and the value will come. And finally, the wing fullback spot. So the tops pick this week, I've got Jacob Gagai. So I wasn't expecting him to get named again this week, but they must have elevated him to some sort of development deal or even a top 30 deal. I didn't follow South Sydney that closely, to be honest. But he is named to play again this week. And, it may be his spot until Munro comes back. It may be his spot indefinitely. So he has obviously jumped up above bottom dollar, given that he played last week. So if you got on him last week, well done. You're definitely gonna, get some good value out of that. But I don't think it's too late. So if you are looking for a wing fullback to bring in, I think he's your best bet this week. On the chopping block, I've got Jermaine Osako. Um, so I did sort of state this in my super coach video as well, but I think the Dolphins are going to have a tough season. So I don't know if the attacking output is going to be there for Osako. I am happy to be proven wrong, don't get me wrong, but I can understand, if people want to bring in some of these other players. Like obviously, I haven't even discussed Taylor May in this video. He's an option. Um, I guess no, not Kyle, Zach Labour. If you're looking to bring someone in the centres and you've got a bit of dual position flexibility, I think Ozako is probably an appropriate avenue to those sorts of guys. For the trap, I've gone with Tyrell Sloan. So, obviously had a great game on the weekend, but he's not going to score a hat trick every week. And he does have a bit of a history as a poor scorer, particularly in fantasy. So I guess it's just a buyer beware sort of situation if you are going him. I can't stress enough to have another look at least, and I'd probably want more evidence than 2 weeks before I committed to bringing him in. And on the slaps, I've gone with Kalen Ponga. So again, if you've got him in as a gun option, keep the faith. He won't have bad games every week. We know what he's capable of. He's shown it in the past. So don't overreact to one bad game, which I think is probably the overarching theme of this video. Although with fantasy, the prices do start moving straight away, and you do need to move a bit faster to make sure you're on top of it. Don't panic. Keep faith in the guys that you picked, unless you can clearly see that the role isn't there for them. So I guess it's just about getting some ideas out there, get people thinking, get people talking. So I guess along those lines, if you do have any thoughts, comments, questions about anything that we've discussed today, feel free to add it below this video. Obviously, if you enjoy the tops, chops, traps, and slaps, there you go, I think I got that right. Give us a like, let me know that you are enjoying this sort of content. Obviously, if you're enjoying all of the fantasy content we've got, subscribe to the channel. Again, thanks to those who have jumped on board recently. It's awesome to see. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.